This week, Paris and the world are shaken. The Vatican reacts. The threat of violence is not enough to stop the papal visit to Africa, and the Year of Mercy may get a new saint. Hello and welcome to another edition of Vatican Connections. It's been a shocking week on so many levels. Let's take a look at what's been going on. Last week's terrorist attacks in Paris have shaken not only Parisians, but citizens around the world, including Pope Francis. The Holy Father sent a telegram to Cardinal André Vintois expressing his solidarity and sorrow at the attacks. He also spoke to TV 2000, the television station of the Italian bishops, saying there is no human or religious justification for the attacks. Asked if he thinks this might be part of a third world war, he said, "This is a third world war, a war that is being fought in pieces." Now, the Pope spoke again about the attacks after leading the Angelus on Sunday. CNS has more.
Desidero esprimere il mio dolore per gli attacchi terroristici che nella tarda serata di venerdì hanno insanguinato la Francia, causando numerose vittime. Al Presidente della Repubblica francese e a tutti i cittadini porgo l'espressione del mio fraterno cordoglio. Sono vicino in particolare ai familiari di quanti hanno perso la vita e ai feriti. Tanta barbarie ci lascia sgomenti e ci si chiede come possa il cuore dell'uomo ideare e realizzare eventi così orribili che hanno sconvolto non solo la Francia, ma il mondo intero. Dinanzi a tali atti non si può non condannare l'inqualificabile affronto alla dignità della persona umana. Voglio riaffermare con vigore che la strada della violenza e dell'odio non risolve i problemi dell'umanità e che utilizzare il nome di Dio per giustificare questa strada è una bestemmia.
And special masses were held in Paris, Milan, Glasgow, and New York for the victims of the attacks. Pope Francis is scheduled to travel to Africa next week. Now, the Vatican confirmed that the trip will go ahead as planned, regardless of the violence in the Central African Republic. Pope Francis plans to travel in an open-air Pope-mobile, though the Vatican spokesperson said that could change. Pope Francis also wants to continue the trip because he wants to bring a message of peace to those most in need of it and remind them of God's mercy. Now, the Holy Father also plans to open the Holy Door of the Cathedral of Bangui in the Central African Republic as a concrete reminder of that mercy. On a lighter note, there are more additions to the Pope's upcoming schedule. The details of a papal visit to Mexico is taking shape, and Pope Francis will visit Rome's synagogue on January 17th. Now, the Pope was invited by Rome's chief rabbi, Riccardo Di Segni. The date is significant because it's the day that Italy dedicates to Christian-Jewish dialogue. It also marks the date in 1793 when the city's Jewish community was saved from an angry mob of Romans by a torrential downpour that extinguished the Romans' torches, allowing the Jewish people to flee. According to a spokesperson for the synagogue, the visit will last an hour and a half. Meanwhile, Vatican officials have visited Mexico and are working out an itinerary for the Pope's February visit to that country. Although nothing has been confirmed yet by the Vatican and planning is still underway, we are hearing that February 12th to 18th are likely dates for the trip, and it is possible that Chiapas could be one of the places the Pope visits, as well as Morelia and the Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe. We're also hearing he could celebrate up to 5 masses during the trip. Now, the itinerary is expected to be made public on December 12th, the feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Italian media report this week that Mother Teresa could be canonized in September of 2016. The Vatican spokesperson, Father Federico Lombardi, told Catholic News Service the Vatican has set aside September 4th, 2016 as a possible date for her canonization if the cause is concluded in time. We do know that a possible miracle has been investigated in Brazil and has actually been passed on to the Congregation for Saints' Causes. Italy's AGI news agency reports that the congregation's medical panel has actually already accepted the healing as miraculous, and now the theological panel has to weigh in. The congregation requires both those panels to accept the miracle before they present a request to the Pope for canonization. And we are just over 2 weeks away from the start of the Jubilee year for Mercy. Preparations are already well underway at St. Peter's. Now, after a Jubilee year, the Holy Door gets covered up with a brick wall. So this week, Vatican workers had to remove the bricks covering the Holy Door in what is called a recognitio ceremony. Also, enclosed in that brick wall was a metal box which contains documents from the last Jubilee year, which was the year 2000, and, of course, the key to the Holy Door. Meanwhile, in the piazza, the Christmas tree and nativity scene are being prepared, and they are expected to be ready for December 8th. Now, even though this will all be ready for December 8th, the official tree lighting will take place December 18th. Did you know? If Pope Francis's trip to the Central African Republic goes ahead as scheduled, he will become the first pope to visit an active war zone. Many of the Vatican II documents that shaped the church we know today were actually promulgated this month 50 years ago. That includes a little-known agreement signed by 42 council fathers. Now, I had a chance to sit down with our very own Vaticanist, Matteo Cioffi, to talk about these documents and their impact. Well, Matteo, thank you for making time to be here with me. We're in a very important year. It's the 50th anniversary of the close of Vatican II, and because of that, there's a lot of Vatican documents that are having their 50th anniversary, but there's one in particular that few people know about. Tell us about that. What is it?
Yes, we have to go back on November 16th, 1965, and that evening, around 40 Father Council
Fathers.
Council Father, gathered in Catacombs of Domitilla. Mm-hmm. So we are in Rome, of course. We are in the south part of the city, the opposite part of the Vatican.
Okay.
And in this catacomb, we are close to the main one.
Okay, the one that all the tourists go visit.
Yeah, it's San Callisto one. Mm-hmm. And we are close to Via Ardeatina, mm-hmm. and close to a big park, Parco della Caffarella. So they met each other in this mm-hmm. catacomb, and they did the Mass. Mm-hmm. And after that, they decided to sign this document, this pact, Patto delle Catacombe. It's important.
Right, which would be the Pact of the Catacombs, the Catacomb Pact in English.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's important because they decide to take some decision, and I would say in 5 different points, they decide to take the distance from the richness, from the prosperity, from the privilege you can have if you belong to the church.
So basically, based on everything they had been discussing up until then, they decide that there needs to be a change in the way that they live their ministry.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are the key things that they agreed to do?
Yeah, first of all, they decide to try to live in accordance to their people. We can say they decide, first of all, to live in the same way like the people. Like the people, they were surrounded by them.
Okay.
And they decide, for example, to decide to refuse, for example, to be called eminency, Monsignor. So they wanted to be called like father.
Okay.
They decide, for example, to be not involved in bank account, in properties.
That's right. One of these key points you were telling me, they actually agree that they are not going to administer, to do the administration of the finances of their own diocese. They're going to give that job to lay people who are experienced in that area.
Yeah, because we can say they wanted to be like pastors, shepherds,
Right.
and not manager.
Aha.
So that's a point so important, no? And we can say, for example, that they decide to refuse all the insignia.
Okay.
And when I say insignia, it means
Like the
the
cross, the rings.
Yeah, not gold, not silver, not all this stuff. So they decide to write down all this stuff
Okay.
just to make their opinion clear about the church
Okay.
and their idea to live their life.
Okay. So what happens to this pact? Because today, very few people know about this pact. What happened? Do we even know who signed it?
We can say, for example, that we don't know very well the people who were there.
We don't have a list of all
We- yeah.
40. Okay.
And for this reason, we said around 40 council fathers. One of those was, as I said, Elder Camara. Another one is Luigi Bettazzi. He's 92 years old now. He's a Bishop Emeritus of Ivrea, a little city from the north part of Italy, from Piemonte. But we don't know very well about the other people who were there. But we know the content.
Right.
And that's the most important thing, of course. At the same time, we can say that it was important at that moment. It was a sort of secret pact. But if we think about what Pope Francis said immediately after his election, one of his first statements was, I would like to have a poor church for the poor people. So if we think the content of this document, it's connected to one of the biggest desires of Pope Francis.
So the pact is called the Pact of the Catacombs, or the Catacombs Pact. And that in and of itself brings to mind some really powerful images. These council fathers had access to all of Vatican City. They had just spent weeks and weeks and months in St. Peter's Basilica. Why would they go to the catacomb? And it's not even one of the main catacombs. It's a catacomb on the furthest reaches of the city. Why go to all that trouble of going out to this catacomb to have a mass and sign this pact?
Yes, we can say that it's a symbolic place, of course. So, as I said before, they moved to the south part of the city, and the most important Basilica Papale close to this catacomb is San Paolo fuori le mura. And they decided to go to this place for one reason, because in this place, 2 Roman soldiers were killed, Nereo and Achilleo.
Okay.
They were killed because they were converted.
Oh, they
the-
converted to Christianity.
to Christianity,
Okay.
and they were killed for this reason. We know that in this place, before, there were like 100,000 tombs of Christian people,
Oh, wow.
so connected to the Christianity, and also to what the Christian people had to suffer, no, in the history.
So it's really rooting themselves, connecting themselves to the core of our faith, to these people who were Christians and were Catholics, not when it didn't have any pomp and circumstance attached to it, when the church didn't have riches. A last question for you. Where can we find copies of this agreement? Do they exist? Obviously it exists because we know about it, but where do they exist? Can we find them? Has it been lost? Has the original been lost to history altogether?
It's not easy. It's not easy to understand if we have how many copies, for example. But we know that basically all the council fathers who were there, now they should have in their diocese one copy of this pact,
Okay.
who was signed by them.
Okay.
So if we think that there were 42 people, so we should have 42 copies.
Okay, so they might be lost in someone's personal archives.
It's possible, yeah.
Okay, so we should put out an official call. If you come across this document, please look in your archives. If you come across this document, please let us know.
Yeah, because it's so important.
It's important.
It's important.
It's a very important part of this, of the council. Matteo, thank you so much for sharing with us your knowledge as a Vaticanist, your knowledge of this obscure piece of Church and Vatican and Roman history.
It was a pleasure.
Let's take a look now through the papal agenda. On Sunday, Pope Francis visited Rome's Christkirche, a parish of the German Evangelical Lutheran Church in the Eternal City. During the service, a few members of the parish asked Pope Francis questions, including one parishioner who is married to a Catholic. She said that she and her husband have shared many joys and sorrows, but cannot share the Eucharist. CNS has more on his visit and the dialogue that took place.
La domanda sul condividere la cena del Signore non è facile per me risponderla, soprattutto davanti a un teologo come il Cardinal Casper. Ho paura. Diceva un pastore amico, ma noi crediamo che il Signore è presente lì, è presente. Voi credete che il Signore è presente? E qual è la differenza? Sono le spiegazioni, le interpretazioni. La vita è più grande di spiegazioni e interpretazioni. Sempre fate riferimento al battesimo. Una fede, un battesimo, un Signore. Così ci dice Paolo. E di là prendete le conseguenze. Io non oserò mai dare permesso di fare questo perché non è competenza di me. Un battesimo, un Signore, una fede, parlate col Signore e andate avanti. Non oso dire di più.
Wednesday was the general audience, and Pope Francis turned his attention to the upcoming Jubilee year for mercy.
Siamo arrivati alle soglie del Giubileo. È vicino. Davanti a noi sta la porta, ma non solo la porta santa, l'altra, la grande porta della misericordia di Dio. E quella è una porta bella, che accoglie il nostro pentimento offrendo la grazia del suo perdono. Tutti siamo peccatori, profittiamo questo momento che viene e varchiamo la soglia di questa misericordia di Dio che mai si stanca di perdonare, mai si stanca di aspettarci, ci guarda, è sempre accanto di noi. Coraggio, entriamo su questa porta, entriamo per questa porta. E se la porta della misericordia di Dio è sempre aperta, anche le porte delle nostre chiese, dell'amore delle nostre comunità, delle nostre parrocchie, delle nostre istituzioni, delle nostre diocesi devono essere aperte, perché così tutti possiamo uscire a portare questa misericordia di Dio. Il Giubileo significa la grande porta della misericordia di Dio, ma anche le piccole porte delle nostre chiese aperte per lasciare entrare il Signore o tante volte uscire il Signore prigioniero dalle nostre strutture, del nostro egoismo e tante cose.
On Thursday, Pope Francis met with bishops from Germany on their Ad Limina visit, and he had a special audience with participants in an international conference on the culture of health. The conference was being offered by the Pontifical Council for the Pastoral Care of Healthcare Workers. On Friday, Pope Francis met with the President of Ukraine and his family. Time to take a look at the resignations and nominations that happened this week. Cardinal Edwin O'Brien, the Grand Master of the Equestrian Knights of the Holy Sepulchre of Jerusalem, has been named a member of the Congregation for Saints' Causes. This is in addition to his current role. As well, Professor Stefania Nanni has been named a consultor to the same congregation. She is a professor of history at Rome's La Sapienza University. And the Pontifical Commission for Latin America also has a new member. Pope Francis named Archbishop Jorge Patron Wong to that role. The Archbishop is also the secretary responsible for seminaries at the Congregation for the Clergy. Well, that's all for this edition of Vatican Connections. Join us again next week for more of what's going on at the heart of the Church. As always, you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or our blog, or watch us on Roku TV on demand. From everyone here, thanks for watching. See you next time.